I think in America we talk a lot to rally drivers and they test. Yeah. It's shakedown or even just practice a lot of times. What do you think testing is?
I think it's very specific on the role you're doing. Like if it's just going from event to event and you've got no major changes on the car, then for me it's a systems check. Make sure the car's up to speed, make sure everything's working correctly. Okay. And make sure myself and my co-driver are up to speed and feeling comfortable with the car. But then when you're doing like proper testing where you've got work to do, then that's a whole different ball game. You know, you've got to first of all find the good roads, because it's so difficult to get a road that either holds up for everything you're trying to do. Yep. Obviously here is a perfect facility for this, which is obviously why we chose it, because you've got different ways you can go. You've got, sure. If you're looking for a front wheel drive car, so much of it is about getting good traction. So you need the uphill, you need the downhill, you need all the different combinations. Yep. But when you're testing, really, you've got to have a plan, like baseline the road, get the road to a speed where it's consistent. Have a plan before you get going with what you're going to be doing in the car, because these days it's so easy to run out of time very quickly, especially if you're not sure of something. You might want to put a part on, then you've got to take it back and baseline it again. So, the job of the testing is very much determined by how good your techs are at turning the jobs around, how much stuff you've actually got to even try anyway, and different things. But it's certainly not a practice, and it's not about how many laps you get, because where people go wrong, and I think the most guys that are starting out go wrong, is they go to their test day, which is basically them practicing. Right. They get faster and faster and faster, so everything they do on the car, they feel like they're making an improvement because they're getting faster on the road. Right. So you have to discipline yourself to drive the same speed throughout when you're trying parts, so you get a real idea whether that part's made it faster. Yeah. And then the problem we have with these guys, that they finish the day's testing, then they're probably driving at a speed that rally speed. They're probably not going to go at a real rally, because they're so familiar with the road. They know they're not looking out. It's not a new road where they're having to rely on the pace notes. They're driving the road on a memory, and then they get to the rally, and then the car feels horrible because they can't drive it the way they did at the test. So it's a really hard thing to. Everyone says, I need more test time, I need more seat time. But it's doing it in a productive way. So when I'm trying to do my coaching with people, if it's just before an event, the key is you drive the road to a point before you know it by memory, because you're never going to drive the next stage of the rally. If you're doing a test after a rally, then for sure you can learn it as much as you want, and you can do things like, typically when I'm testing myself before an event, I'd never do a run without my co-driver in the car. So we always have pace notes, and you're making yourself drive to the rally situation opposed to the other one. So there's a lot to it and a lot of things, but you can guarantee you'll finish with a day and a day testing. The car will be the best car you've ever driven. You get to the first stage of a rally, you even see it on WRC, and the guy, I haven't got the feeling with the car, and it's because it's having that thing where you balance the car to be a good feeling, which is easy to drive, and one that's good on the stopwatch, and it's easy to sometimes get overruled by a stopwatch. Right.
Well, and that's what Tim O'Neill always told me. You just have to be a good enough driver to know you can be set consistent lap times, right? And most U.S. rally drivers, we don't even get enough seat time to be consistent. And you're a 10-time national champion here, and so you've seen our roads and been doing this enough times, and that's something that you actually haven't done this loop very often, though, at Team O'Neill, right? So this is kind of fresh for you.
Last time I did this loop, it was the launch of the 15, the new style car, and we had the spikes on, if you remember. Right, yeah. So we're in the hut freezing, and it was a very different to what it is.
And you're in a front-wheel drive car, and so for you, this is you're obviously a good enough driver to accommodate for this, but there's very few people that are even good enough to be.
And I think some people can be intimidated by a road as well, and they can see things that, like, this is the real road. There's everything in here that's going to catch you out on a real event. So it doesn't mean you'll get people that will probably drive it at a faster speed during a test day than they would on a real rally, because first time they might be a little bit cautious, but if you've done it 20 times, you know the perfect line, where we don't get that beauty in a rally in a rally stage. So it is important to discipline yourself and balance it properly, but obviously it's a big help if you've got the right road in the first place.
What would you recommend to the new guy? Would you say just more seat time? Like, if the car's fairly new, the driver's fairly new, like what do you recommend?
I think for people starting out, the more seat time you can get, the better, but try and do it in different ways, where maybe you do a different, you're not just driving exactly the same bit of road all the time, but the changes you'll make on the car really are going to be very minimal compared to thing like
the driver.
The driver's a focus. Like driver and co-driver together really. If you can get the driver and co-driver working on learning the notes and not knowing what they like on a test day, and then making their pace note system match that when they go out to a rally. But it's getting the seat time, learning to be consistent, learning not to drive everything. You know, you're not going to do the perfect corner every single time, so it's limiting your mistakes and getting the time in the car. And like all things, you know, get some lessons if you can. Like I've just started playing golf again. I went to buy some new golf clubs. You spend 15 minutes trying all the different clubs, and the guy does one tiny thing with your swing, and it's like, it's not the club. It's the same with the car, isn't it? You can change damper clicks, you can do all those different things, but if you're driving it in a wrong way, so you know, invest in what money you may or may not have, and try and the earlier you get the lessons and the earlier you get put on the right pathway, the more you keep that going throughout the career, where most people want to buy the bigger performance parts of the car and make the car faster and faster when there's the squidgy bit in the seat is where the time comes from more.
Right, and that's where Team O'Neill we focus on front wheel drive first. We try to get all of our clients, because once you learn how to maximize front wheel drive, you've got the same skill set that takes you through everything. Like when I jump from a front wheel drive to four wheel, I don't even have a conscious thought that I'm changing, because it's the same skills that come about. You just do things at different speeds and. Being able to be committed in the throttle and then braking in a turn and doing all these things but you can get confidence at a lower speed. Well, that's not lower, but you know, an intro level front wheel drive.
It's learning to read road conditions as well, like when they're different, where to be on the gravel, where not to be, and if you've got a load of horsepower but you're still trying to put your traction down on the loose stone when there's a clear line where you can get it. There's so much time gains you can get from just using your eyes more. Look, you know, every instructor will say it, just get your eyes up and look ahead. Your arms will follow what your eyes are looking at, where you know, we drive around looking at the hazards and think, I don't want to hit that, I don't want to hit this, and they're the things you steer yourself towards. So we've all been there and seen that.
I think too, for Brad, obviously, right, being a humble driver and knowing that someone like you could come in and make his car better. A lot of people think that they want to be able to be all those people, right? And like, you've committed your life to being a really good driver. Brad's committed his life to being a good business guy and, you know, enjoying rally. And you can get a lot out of the investment of having someone like you come out here and be able to spend 2 days where it'd probably take him 10 more years of tweaking, right? And you could drive this car and be like, these are the few things wrong.
And you on the long run as well, you can save the money, because you can lead them in the right direction earlier on. Like I've been in cars and you've gone the wrong way and you've bought something and it doesn't work, but once you've got it, you've still got that part to it. So I think when you can lean on people's experience when it's available, you just got to like you never stop learning. Like I'm learning every day still. You're always doing things, and as much as I want to be competing more, I've always enjoyed the, you know, not being part of a big team at the moment. The bit I've missed the most is like the development of the new cars, the being around the teams and changing things. The actual competition bit, it's brilliant, but it's being around all that. So when you can give those help to other people, it's nice to be able to do that and get to drive some pretty cool cars along the way as well. So, and
you know, we should follow up more on this later, but we get lots of kids asking how to be a paid rally driver, right? And it's testing and consistency, and those are the work. Right, you getting to go racing is also work, but it's it's not and I think the thing is as well is you know, when the people are getting to a point where they're paying you to do the job, they know what that job is, and and I know what my job is. So you know, with Subaru, it was always a job to win the championship. It wasn't necessarily to be the fastest on every stage, but you've got to know what your job is and drive to that. They don't want the car coming back every time with bits hanging off it. Just for you to tell them, I went 3 seconds quicker than I could have gone if I didn't do that. So you know, the key of rallying as well is to go as slow as you can go to do the job you have to do. Professional driver, right? Like the goal is still got to finish.
And especially when you look at like sports car racing is so popular now, but you've got two drivers. You don't want to be the guy getting in a car that the guy before has ragged it and it's hanging. So you know, there's a lot about the mechanical sympathy, knowing when to push, when not to push, and things. And for sure, you're trying to do everything as fast as you can go, but in the most efficient way possible. Yeah.
Specifically for this car, what are you looking at today? Like, what is your focus?
I came over like 15 months ago and we did the 2 days with Brad.
Okay.
Like he was down in Florida actually at the time. It was in the winter, and there were so many things with the car. Like the potential was there, but it was a long way out. And I said, Brad, we need to do some really big jobs on this. And then I brought put Jonathan, my engineer from the past, on the case to go back, and he went to spend some time in the workshop. And where we are now is a result of 15 months of what we realised was wrong
Just the changes
back
of
at the time.
core.
So
Wow.
everything,
Okay.
so the car's like way lighter, the weight's all been moved, the geometry's been changed massively.
Again.
So
Yeah.
now it's just like retesting again
Okay.
and trying to get it
So this is a baseline. Really?
baseline now. This is
Okay.
obviously Jonathan has calculations and has
Sure.
stuff that comes off the computer. So his computer says that, and now what we finish with will be a combination of the computer and the driver. So
Well, thank you for taking us along for the journey, and we're going to talk to you more and get your feedback as you go through.
Yeah,
But
thank
you
you.
for being here.
Thank you very
Awesome.
much.
Appreciate you.
Perfect.